Right now we're flying directly above the area where TWA Flight 800 exploded and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. At first light, the search continued, but now it is much more of a recovery effort than a rescue effort, for as far as anyone knows, there is simply no one left to rescue. By daylight, the scene was one of vast destruction as boats combed more than 20 miles of ocean retrieving wreckage. Both the FBI and the National Transportation Safety Board have launched investigations into the cause of the crash, but Attorney General Janet Reno revealed that a Tampa TV station received a call after the crash claiming responsibility on behalf of a jihad group. But President Clinton called for caution.
Sometimes such calls are accurate, sometimes such calls are attempting to ride along on a tragedy. And therefore, I believe we should wait for the evidence.
At TWA's press conference, the issue of security was raised.
Well, this plane would be subject to normal security measures, and those are things we don't discuss. TWA has not advised the FBI or other authorities of any threats.
It was almost 9 p.m. when witnesses along the south shore of Long Island saw what looked like a comet in the sky.
I heard a large clap of thunder and just this huge, big fireball, like a fireworks display, something that looked like it was going to land right in your front yard.
By the time Maureen Cassidy saw the fireball, TWA Flight 800 bound for Paris had dropped off the radar scope just 20 minutes out of New York. Off the coast of Long Island, recovery efforts have been hampered by the fact that the wreckage lies in 100 feet of water, although one of the black boxes has been found.
You see people in the water, and you would hope that you could rescue somebody and bring them back home to their families. Tonight, unfortunately, we couldn't seem to locate anybody.
Sergeant Sean Brady, a diver with the New York Air National Guard, rushed to the scene with his helicopter unit last night, hoping there would be at least some survivors. But all he could do was wait and watch.
We pretty much went out and surveyed the area and searched for survivors.
You didn't find any?
No, we did not find any.
I don't think I have a whole lot of new information for you, unfortunately.
New York's Mayor Rudolph Giuliani blasted TWA's management for what he called their slow response to last night's emergency.
The delay caused by TWA's incompetence at the top is outrageous and disgusting.
For Giuliani, there was also a personal side to this tragedy. A friend of his, an investment banker and the father of 5 children, was aboard the doomed flight.
I lost someone that I knew quite well, yes. I only realized it at 2:30 in the morning. It's a real tragedy, but there were 229, at least, tragedies.
The passengers on Flight 800 came from all walks of life, and 2 continents now share the pain. An American couple had just put a young French exchange student on the plane for his trip home. They were called with the tragic news to act as next of kin.
We love him.
Did he take back any souvenirs from here?
We bought him, yeah. We bought him as many Chicago Bulls and New York Knicks things that we could stick in his bag, and he sat on his bag last night, and it was right out of a comedy trying to get it closed.
Also on the flight, 16 students from a small Pennsylvania town. They had earned the money for their 10-day learning trip to France by holding fundraisers during the school year. But in the middle of so much tragedy is a story of death avoided. Eileen Rentz made a mad dash to the airport last night, only to learn she missed Flight 800 to Paris.
It was very surreal.
In Paris, the awful truth sank in. The flight that had been listed as canceled was finally acknowledged as having crashed.
She devoted her life to making Houston safe.
You see, he is a very serious threat to our community.
For the last 3 years, Pam Lychner fought passionately for the rights of crime victims with the group she founded, Justice for All.
What I found was crime victims really needed an organization so that we could make some of these positive changes that would help everyone.
Her passion found its roots in 1990. She was living a comfortable life with her husband Joe, raising their girls, 8-year-old Katie and 10-year-old Shannon. She spent her free time working as a real estate agent. One day, while showing a house, she was attacked by a man with a history of sexual assaults.
I went to leave, and he grabbed me from the backside. He had one hand very tightly around my mouth, the other one around my clothing. And I just wanted to get him off of me. And
Fortunately, her husband Joe, who joined her on the showing, rescued her.
I guess you just do what comes naturally. I jumped over her and I grabbed him and just tried to separate the two of them so that he couldn't do any harm to her.
My husband caught him in a closet and held him for 25 minutes before the police arrived with a 911 call.
Even though her attacker was sent to prison, he sued Pam for psychological damage she allegedly caused by getting him arrested. And when prison officials suggested an early release for her attacker, Pam became incensed.
I decided that what else could I do but stand up and fight? And I said, I am not going to cower to him anymore. I'm going to fight him with everything that I have.
The early release was turned down and the suit dismissed, and with that, she became the voice of compassion for other victims who've suffered. And she became an example of strength for her girls. Recently, when her husband suggested they all go to Paris for vacation, she and the girls jumped at the chance. Pam said she wanted to show Katie and Shannon part of the world. Joe, who was to join them a few days later, delivered his daughters and Pam, who was once a flight attendant for TWA, to the airport and said goodbye. This time, there was nothing he could do to protect his wife, nothing he could do to save his family.
Every time we do something that is good for victims, we do it with Pam guiding us and giving us wisdom.
Thursday night, there was a gathering in a Houston hall, mostly crime victims and members of Justice for all whose lives were somehow touched and changed by Pam Lychner. Though they will never again hear that voice that championed their rights, they will carry on. But for Joe, who is now left to claim the bodies of Pam and Katie and Shannon, he will never again see the love or spirit in his wife's eyes. He will never see his little girls grow up.